Hello, today is the 31st of May 2020. So last time I did one of these, I said I wouldn't be getting on as much unless there was something to report. Well, there's something to report, but first let me so as of the end of May, we are now at 1,785,000 cases in America and 104,000 deaths. In North Carolina, the number of new cases yesterday was the highest recorded yet, at 1,185 new cases recorded yesterday. Now, to put that in perspective, the number of cases reported on March 31st, so we're talking 2 months, right, was 191. So yesterday they had almost 1,000 more than that, just over one day. So, yeah, in America, it's still kind of, it's going up a little bit for the last few days, about 24,000 new cases reported. But the big news is there was an absolutely terrible killing of a black man by a white police officer. It was recorded. The police officer was clearly in the wrong. He's been fired. He's been charged with third-degree murder. But it set off this wave of protests that started yesterday. It's turned into looting and rioting. And one report that I saw today said it's the worst rioting around America that we've had in 50 years since Vietnam. And they're all over the country where they've had to, they're posting the National Guard's coming out to place. This initiated in Minneapolis is where this death happened. One of the headlines is, anger over police killings shatters U.S. Target temporary closing stores due to protests in some areas. Okay. Locally. Okay. So I just pulled this up a couple minutes ago. Some of the headlines that came before, that some riots broke out in downtown Raleigh, which is not far from here, on Saturday afternoon. National Guard has been mobilized. Okay. And then today, peaceful protests began at the state capitol today. Protests in Durham on Saturday night remained peaceful, which is great. And then, as of 3 minutes ago, tear gas deployed at the state capitol, which means that the police have fired into the crowd with tear gas because it was getting out of control. What's ironic about all this is, in the book that I wrote, National Bestseller, it talked about, again, for me it was gas prices, but people were just fed up with this change of lifestyle they had to have, to the point where they actually had protests and rioting. I wrote that in the book, which came out before any of this happened. A lot of these protests, people are just fed up. It's terrible what happened about the police brutality and stuff like this, but the number of protests really has probably as much to do with just being, our lifestyles have been so changed the last few months with COVID-19. There's a lot of frustration built up, and we're just looking for a release valve, and this is the reason it's happening. And that doesn't mean to downplay what happened to the man that was killed, but anyway, so we're safe where I live. As my daughter says, we live in a suburb of a suburb. We're not anywhere close to where downtown is, so which is fine, but it's just sad to see this. I will say the one thing that I did see, when you're chanting through the streets, no peace, no justice, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace, that is such a screwed up saying. That is so screwed up. And as someone replied, wrong doesn't answer wrong. Okay, protest, yes, absolutely. If there's a problem, we can do a protest. It can be peaceful, but when it turns violent, when people are burning down buildings, places of employment, when people are breaking in and stealing big screen TVs from Target, okay, this has nothing to do with police brutality. This has nothing to, there's no excuse for that behavior. None. And you just can't say, well, it's because of racism and whatever. No, that's just people being jerks. Okay. As they say, two wrongs don't make a right. Anyway, that's what's going on today.